Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dawn and today I am working on my second video for the Kit Create collab that I am hosting. There's a hashtag Kit Create collab that you can look up on YouTube or Instagram or wherever supports hashtags. Today is week 2. So I'm starting with a video every Monday, and then every day except Sunday you'll get a video from a new creator. And each of the 6 creators are making at least one full journal out of this kit that I've put together. So these kits are available in my Etsy shop if you want to pop over to my Etsy shop and grab one and join along. And yeah, so Mondays is my videos. On Tuesdays we have Kentucky Krafter. On Wednesdays we have Raven's Vintage. Thursday we have DearJulieJulie. Friday we have BlackWhisperCrafts, and Saturday we have Cindy A. Lewis. And yeah, so I'll have a playlist down below if you want to follow along, and I'm gonna jump into talking about what I will be doing for my covers today. I'm planning on making a couple of different journals. The first one is I have this book. It was one of the books that I pulled pages from for the kit. It was called Cooking from Quilt Country, and it has this like soft colored quilt pattern here, and it's a vintage book, so it has I don't know what this kind of cover is called, but it kind of feels like a canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this book cover to make one journal cover by doing what I did for my extra large sewing journal, which is decoupaging this onto the front. I'm not sure yet what I'll do with the back of the pattern. I might turn it into a couple of pockets because I will only be putting the front on the cover. So that's the first cover I'm going to do. And then I think I'm going to do a couple of other different covers. So I want to kind of, this is all the smaller pieces. I'm just going to put that to the side right now. I think I want to make a total of 3 journals, and I want to find different pieces that I can use for those journals. That's really cute. So I don't have like a full plan right now, but there's a plan forming. So I think I want to make a journal with this as a cover. And then I was thinking for another cover, here it is all the way at the bottom, that I will take this fabric and put it on the cover here, and maybe use a image from one of these book pages, like maybe even this bear as the front, but he's kind of big, so we'll see. But I think I do want to cover this envelope in fabric, but I might just line it so that it doesn't fold over. I might trim it along the edge and cover this as well, but I will probably fold this over the flap. If I do that, that will look pretty cool. And then I can line the inside with something else, like a different piece of fabric, but I don't think I want to do that. I could use, so I'm just thinking this through on camera, so bear with me. I could use this for the front because it's fluffy and cute, assuming that I can get that to be a good size. That will be big enough, I think. Yes, it will be perfect. I can use the fluffy piece for the front, and then I can use the plaid for the inside. And then I could put a piece of the plaid on the, like I could put this here, and then I could put a piece of the plaid on the envelope too, because what I would like to do is I would like to have my journal fold over and have this come up around. So I think I'll do that for this one. Yeah, I like that. That's cute. And then I don't have to, I think that's upside down though, but I don't have to put an image on the front of the journal because the fabric has a pretty pattern. This is one of the printables, the So Lovely printable. That's available in my shop if you would like that. I have that, and I have a page size printable. So that's an option. Okay, and then this is blue, like a light blue, and I think it goes enough with this that I think I'm going to make just a cover by putting these two together. And then what I would do is I would layer this. I would use this to line my cover, and then I would just trim everything down so I have a crinkly cover. Or I might use a piece of batting. What I'll typically do is use a piece of batting there. All right, so I think I will do that, and then I'll have extra pieces of fabric left for making those 3 covers. So this will be one cover. Look at this. That will be the inside, so you want that. And then I'll have some extra pieces to use on spines and stuff. So I'll have that cover, I have this cover, and then I still have one extra piece of fabric. So I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but it does go very nicely with this. So I might end up using a piece of this yellow on the spine of this book, because I will want to cover the spine. So I'll probably do that, and then I'll have a piece on the inside spine as well, so that'll use up a couple inches, and then I'll probably just use the rest of the fabric somewhere else. All right, so I'm gonna put all these pieces to the side so I have space to work. These two will need to be sewn and oriented properly, so that's going to be my biggest challenge. So I'm going to start with this one, get it glued down, and then pause and go sew them. And hopefully I can pause without forgetting to pause and stopping the video, because I don't want to make 2 parts. I did that a couple days ago and it was very frustrating. Okay, so I want to not waste any. I do have the selvage here, so I think this is the way to go, because I want to make sure that when I fold it over, oh, that's cute, and it lines up really well too. Okay, so that's correct and straight and everything. So I think I'm just gonna start. I have a fabric glue from Eileen's. You can use any kind of fabric glue. I'm gonna sew, so I don't want to put too much glue. So I'm just gonna put enough to tack it down. A lot of the times for this kind of project, I will actually just use a glue stick, just to hold it until I get there. But because I'm putting another piece on the inside, I do want to make sure that everything gets lined up properly. Okay, so this is gonna go here, and I think if I do it this way, it'll be easier. And I'm gonna do that straight along that edge, nice and straight, and then flip it over and just smooth it as like quickly as I can before too much of the glue dries. All right. Perfect. And then, okay, and then I'm going to put this on the flap. And I will trim this piece now so that I can see what I'm doing. That wasn't even coming out. That whole time I was doing that and it wasn't even coming out. Okay. I'll trim around it now so I can see what I'm doing and where I'm lining up the brown piece. Okay, and just make sure everything's as smooth and flat as possible. Okay. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut around the edge here. It's fleece, so it won't really fray, so I do want to try to be pretty close to the edge without cutting open my envelope. So the way I'm going to do this is that when you fold the journal in half, it will have a pocket up into where it's bound. So this journal will have a pocket in it. Sorry, I'm not sure how much is coming through on the video, but my kids are very much upstairs, making a lot of noise. It's just what they do, but they are very loud. So it's distracting me, even if you can't hear. Like, I'm not sure how that's gonna come through because they are like pretty far away from, you know, the camera recording, but they are very loud to me. All right. Trim around this, and I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I can probably find a use for the rest of this fabric, so I will save it for now. It's a pretty strange shaped piece. I know that the flannel was a lot harder to cut, so it didn't come out as like smooth and even as the rest of the fabric pieces that I had in my kits. So yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can like make 3 journals all at the same time on these videos. I'm gonna actually save that piece too, because that might be kind of fun to play with, even if I don't use it in this project. Okay, put that aside. All right, and then for the inside, to make sure that it's the direction I want. So what's gonna happen is this is gonna fold over and this is gonna fold over, and that's gonna be my journal cover. And it's so soft and it's so cute. And I'm excited. I like when it starts to come together. Okay, so for this one, that's too small in that direction, so I will have to do it in this direction. And this one, I don't mind if it shows a little bit of like a ruffle. I think this is a double-sided fabric. I don't think that there's a wrong side and a right side, but we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna put it down like that because it doesn't have a pattern or anything that I want to worry about where I'm, like this one I could have put on upside down, but this one I couldn't have, so or I can't, so I don't think it matters. So I'm gonna glue about half of this down and then place it on and then go back and get the rest of it tacked down. Just because I think that'll be the easiest way. If I just do this that. And then smooth this out. And then I can pull it over and do the rest of it. Alright, and what I want to do before I get too far in that is kind of put this here. That's just a dry baby wipe, but I want to make sure that none of the... Okay, so along this edge I have to glue it really well, and I'm even going to smooth out the glue with my finger because this is the only edge that won't be sewn because it's inside the pocket and it's very difficult to sew. So I'm just going to rely on the glue for that part. Okay. And that's why I put the wipe there, just to catch any extra glue. And we'll make sure we wipe up anything that's there. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. And then I'm gonna fold it over and I'm gonna trim it like this to get it right up to the edge of that envelope. And then I'll make sure that that's all glued down on that edge. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut this part. I don't think this strip is going to be big enough, but oh, it is. It is. It's perfect. That's awesome. Okay, that's pretty great. I do think I want to, like, the envelope itself is not flat across on this part. Like, it has a little bit of a V. So I want to trim this down. So that there's no, like, extra little bit of fabric hanging on that part. And then just come up. And it's not perfect, but that's okay. Alright, I like that, I think. Maybe I will do that. I think it'll look better when it's dry, because right now it looks kind of ruffled. That's okay. I'm not sure I did a great job on that, but we're gonna call that good for now. And then where is my piece? Here is my piece. Now, I don't think that that is gonna be big enough. So I think what I will do is just grab a piece of this. I thought I could tear it without cutting it, but I could not, in fact, tear it without cutting it first. It's okay. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. All right. So this has to go in there. Love tearing fabric so much. So a lot of the fabric in these kits, at least the like patterned fabrics that aren't, my kit doesn't have any, but I did need some pieces to kind of fill out the kit. So there's pieces in the kits that that are, sorry, it's really hard to think and work at the same time for me. There are pieces of fabric in the kits that are like sewing themed, and those are mostly like newer fabric that I've grabbed from places like Joann's. So if you have a sewing themed fabric, like there's a cat one, and there's a thread one, and a yarn one, you know. So if you have like a crafting sewing themed piece of fabric, it's probably new. But if you have any of the other ones that are patterns or plaids or just color patterns, those are from my grandmother. And she was a big quilter. My whole life she made quilts. She made quilts for each of her grandchildren. And I think all her children, but I do remember like that she made quilts for each of her grandchildren. And she passed away in 2014, and none of my aunts were interested in her fabric because none of them sewed or quilted or did anything. And I was just about to go to college when my grandmother passed. It was the summer before I went to college, and I didn't know what I was gonna do with it. But I grabbed every piece of fabric from her attic, because that's where she had kept it all, up in her attic. I grabbed every piece of fabric from her attic that I could get. I went with my dad, so everything that we could fit in our car we grabbed, and I stored it for years, not knowing what I was going to do with it, because I was just going to college. I didn't know how to quilt. I didn't know how to sew. I didn't make junk journals yet. So I grabbed it and I just held on to it for many years. And now here I am making journals and other, like, I'm doing a lot of sewing projects too that I don't really do on camera, just because I don't know, I like doing my sewing projects at night when it's too dark to film, and I don't really have a filming like set up properly by my sewing machine. But a lot of these fabrics that I'm using are from my grandmother. And if you're wondering like how I'm able to make kits out of them and how I'm able to like let it go, well, let me tell you, those like big plastic totes that you get at like Walmart and Target and whatever, I have 16 of those totes full of fabric that I got from my grandmother. So I kind of have to share it. And if I find stuff that seems really meaningful to me or really reminds me of her, then I think I ended up putting that on. After all of that, I put it on upside down. Oh well, it is what it is. I will maybe put something, I don't know. The words are upside down. If you can see that, the words, it does actually have words on it. The words are upside down, but I wanted that to be the front because I didn't like that as much as the front, but now it is upside down. Okay, so here's my journal cover. This will end up being a pocket. This will end up being a flap, and I'll put a button here to tie the journal shut. I've done that kind of style of journal before, and I love it. So that's my first cover. So anyway, I'm able to share fabric that I saved from her because I have so much of it, and just sitting on it all wasn't getting me anywhere. So I've decided it's time to share, and if I find something truly special that really reminds me of her, or if I find some of the fabrics that she used to make the quilts that she made for myself and my siblings, like the ones that I remember, they stand out to me, I set those aside to make something for myself out of them, so I can keep the ones that truly remind me of her, but a lot of them are, you know, just basic fabrics. Like the ones I'm using in this kit, they're not necessarily anything special. They're like just a plaid. So those don't feel as like meaningful or as special, and they don't feel like I need to be sitting on those because I have 16 bins full of fabric, and at some point I have to admit that I'm not going to be able to use it all, and it's better to share it with people that are going to use it. So if you get vintage fabric from my shop, or you get vintage fabric in your kit, just know that that's where it's coming from, because that's where I have my fabric from. Okay, so I have this book. I used this book to make pages for these journal kits. Oh gosh. So as you can see, it's already been ripped up. It's just a sorry, I'm trying to rip. It's just a cookbook. There's 100 of them. I usually get them at my library's book sales or my secondhand shops, and I have no issue whatsoever cutting these up, because they're usually the ones that are discarded or left over at the end of the library book sales. And most of the cookbooks that libraries sell, or that, you know, secondhand store sells, most of them are going to go in the trash. In the recycling, I have no problem cutting up old cookbooks. Most people don't even use cookbooks anymore. Okay, so I have pulled the pages out. I have trimmed. I might do, you can see this one's got like fading. I'm not sure if you can see actually, but this one's faded. It's got some wear and tear. I think it's beautiful. I am not shaming it. This is my little X-Acto knife tool. It's called Slice. I just had to replace the blade because I broke it, but this is my little X-Acto knife that I use for gutting my books. I like it. It's harder to cut myself with than some of the other X-Acto knives I have come across. Okay, so I have my pattern, and I am going to, I think I'm going to just use wet glue, get this whole thing down. I want to try to separate. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay, I'm just gonna cut it open then. I might not even really need to cut. This pattern is, because I'm curious, from 1969. It's always weird working with vintage items that are so much older than me. But this one was well used. The pattern pieces were actually extended to fit whoever the the owner was making the costume dress for. So it was loved. It had its moment. Now it's time to upcycle it. Turn it into something that somebody else can love for a different reason and in a different way. Okay, this is going to be, ooh, this might not be too long. A lot of times those are too long, but it will be upside down, so I think I will take this off. Alright, thought I could just tear it across the fold, but it's pretty beat up there and I don't want to rip it. Alright, so here's our pattern cover. I saved this piece, left that side attached because it does say the copyright date on it. So I think I'm just going to use wet glue to attach this to the front. I will probably line it up a little more on this side because, let's see if this is a big enough piece. This is the offcut from my, that's perfect. I don't know if I want that on the inside or the outside though. I'll decide, but I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna do yellow. Let me fold it so I can get a better idea, because I don't want to wash out the pattern or like take away from the pattern. I don't like the yellow as much, so I'm gonna put this on the outside and then I'm gonna glue this down too. All right, I have my tacky glue here. That's what I'm gonna use. I'm going to probably gonna grab a brush. Make sure that this isn't covered in dust. And I'm gonna grab a brush from my brush jar over here. And I'm probably going to squeeze a bunch of glue onto here and spread it out, and then go back and do the edges. So this is why I don't want to necessarily like decoupage this onto this cover, because this is a like fabric canvas style cover. So I am not going to use my brush because the water is going to damage the water's going to damage the book cover, and I don't want that. I'm just going to guess where I'm going to put this. I'm just going to guess on the glue, and then glue better the edge of the thing. So okay, I got some glue down. I had to pause because it was fighting me every step of the way. I got some glue down on the pattern, and now, or onto the book, and now I'm gonna lift up my edges here and add some to the pattern edges to make sure that everything is glued down super well. I don't want any of this peeling up later. And I don't want to like damage the canvas book cover. So I'm trying to be careful about like using any kind of wet glue. Okay, that's good. All right, just get my edges. I was gonna pause the video for like a good part of this, but then I thought it might be worthwhile to somebody to see me struggling, just to know that like there's no magic to it. It's just it is really hard sometimes to get stuff to look good at the end. There's no like magical solution to this kind of stuff. You just kind of have to do your best. This is a dry wipe. That's a wet one that I was using for my finger. But this is a dry one that is gonna help me smooth everything out. So when I made these packages, these journal packs with the patterns, I left the patterns exactly as I found them. So if they had price tags, if they had like extra pieces in them from somebody extending a pattern or mixing up patterns, or if they had notes with people's names written on them, I just left them authentic to how I found them secondhand. So hopefully it's like a fun, unique experience working with these, because they're all unique and they're all kind of their own thing. And so everything's gonna have quirks. Okay, and then this is just dust from cutting up the pattern packet. All right, perfect. Okay, that's on. It's a little crooked, it's a little wonky, but I love it. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put this on, and I am going to trim right about there, and I'm gonna rip that. I love ripping fabric. And we're we're only doing 35 minutes on this video so far. That's pretty good. All right, and then I'm gonna put that there. That won't cover up the edge that I made here, and I love that. So I have my fabric glue here. And once I get it down, I'm just going to cover my spine in fabric glue. And then add some on the crevices. I usually, when I do this, I will usually go up to the crevice here, making sure I get the top and the side and into the divot. And then that's where I'll stop and put it on, and then I'll go back and peel up the sides and do the sides. All right, I have to line it up so it doesn't. So then I squish this down, get it smooth, and then I will grab my bone folder. You can use any bone folder, and I'll just get that. I'll use that, but I'll use like the flatter side of it to make sure that that's in the divot of the book. So that, and then just get that all in there, and you can see the fabric is wet from the glue, and that's okay because I used fabric glue, so hopefully it won't show through. And then I will go down like this on each side, and then I will go actually along the edge of the fabric to make sure I get the very edge of the fabric. And then I just kind of smooth it. You could use any tool for this. You could use a rubber spatula. I know some people grab the rubber spatulas from the Dollar Tree and use those. You can use the wipe to pat it down. You can use your finger. I just don't really want to get that glue on me if I don't have to, because then I have to go wash my hands. All right. And do this side. Every time I put the bottle down, it goes to the bottom, and then I have to start fresh every time. Okay, go along that, and then go on the edge here to make sure that that edge doesn't lift after I'm done gluing, because I will not be sewing any of this part down. Okay, and then using my wipe to squish everything down, get everything attached. Go along that, and then that will be done and dry by the next video. All right, and then I'm gonna flip this over. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I do for my spines. When I peel a book apart, I will just, got it too long. I will just put a piece of tape, put it on the middle first, and then put the tape into that crease. You can use tape, you can use, I know some people use Tyvek tape, but I actually have not been able to find any available in a store around me, so I just don't bother looking for it. I use something different because I have this brown packaging tape, and I think that works just fine. And I will do 2 pieces typically, so I can get each one to the edge. And because I like the double sturdiness, and that way if I do something like get it so off center like I just did, then it won't matter because it's over on the other side. So before I push the tape down, I want to make sure it's in that crease because I want to keep that crease. If you don't want to keep that crease, you can do something to reinforce the spine, and then you can cover up the crease. But I like that crease. I like the spine the way that it came in the original book, you know. Hopefully you know what I'm trying to say, because I don't. Alright, so I'm just gonna go along the edge here to make sure that that's in there. There's that. And then I am going to just grab a strip of this yellow. I think that should be enough. More than enough. Okay. Just gonna fray it a little bit before I get into it. Just a little. I don't care that much. All right. Yep. All right, and then I'm just gonna basically do the same thing I did on the other side and do it quickly because I want to make sure that I'm not leaving the wet spine. Normally I would do one piece and let it dry a little bit, but I'm trying to get all 3 covers made in one video. So I am being nice and quick. But then I will stand it up to let it dry after this. Alright, that's a lot of glue. I probably got too much glue. This glue comes out really fast. I'm not sure why, because it's a tiny bottle. They felt like they needed to make it come out so fast, but it does come out fast, which means it's not going to last long, which is not ideal for me. So I'm going to try to stretch this by grabbing some of the extra, like so much excess glue. So much excess glue. I don't understand. Okay. Sure that's going. I know I flipped it over and back like 3 times now, but it's hard to tell what way is up. And I keep changing my mind, so. Alright, so I just ran my finger through that. Smooth it out on the edges. This one's wet. Dry my finger off. Get the glue off my finger. Alright, so I'm gonna smooth it out with that. I know I got pretty close to the edge with that glue, so I'm just going to peel it up a little and see where maybe needs some more. Like that whole edge is good, but I'm gonna grab the corner. And then, so I am left-handed, so bear with me while everything looks backwards to you. Unless you're left-handed, in which case it looks forwards to you probably. I work on my journals a lot like upside down from what most people, like this book is upside down right now and I'm working because I'm left-handed. So if you're wondering why I have things pointed in a weird direction or upside down or anything, that's probably your answer. Because I'm left-handed. Alright, get all that nice and glued down so that nothing is going anywhere. Okay. I'm going to fold it, kind of crease my folds there, and then I'm going to flip this over, and this is sticking out past the edge a little bit. Just going to trim it before it gets dried. Alright. Okay, we are not at I don't want to go over an hour. I don't usually make my videos this long. But we might end up over an hour. We'll see. Because I am making 3 covers. Typically I would just do 1 per video. But I'm making 3 covers in 1 video. So, alright, gonna wipe, I'll get all that off my scissors since it's all gluey. Okay, and then the last thing I'm gonna do while this dries a little bit, put it right there. You can see it a little bit. I put it standing up, folded the way that I want it to dry. There's that. Okay, so I don't want to use the rest of the yellow for anything for my next cover. I'm gonna put the rest of this to the side. And my next cover is gonna be this one. Okay. Okay, for this cover, I have this piece of blue felt. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna attach both. I'm gonna attach this to one side, and I'm gonna attach the fabric. After I cut it down, I'm gonna attach the fabric to the other side. Then I'm gonna trim both pieces around the size of the felt. And that's gonna be my cover, and that's gonna be like a really simple cover, and I love doing covers in this style. Using like just a piece of felt as batting has always felt like a little bit of a cheat to me, but I think it's a good cheat. It's not really cheating, it's just a lot cheaper. And since it's a journal and not like a piece of clothing, it serves the same purpose. I wouldn't substitute felt for batting if I was making clothes, but I would definitely do it for a journal. I think it's a really great substitute. Okay, so I have this glue stick. I don't like this glue stick. I tried a different style and I didn't like it, and this was that. So I'm using this just to tack this down temporarily while I take it to my sewing machine. I don't like this one because it's really waxy. I tried to use it and I just found it to be super waxy and I didn't like it. So don't look at this and go, oh, I'm going to try that glue. No, don't do it. Not recommended. Okay. Now that I've established that you don't want to try my glue. All right, and then I'm going to put this down on this side. And I'm also going to just grossly smear some bad glue stick onto this felt because it's just enough to kind of baste it down while I take it to the sewing machine. And that's all. The sewing is what's going to be holding this down, and so I'm not worried about permanent. Okay, I'm going to take this and the other one to my sewing machine, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, I'm back, and all I did was sew around the edge of the wallpaper here because that was the smallest one. And then on this envelope, I sewed all the way around the edge. I went around the whole edge with the envelope flap, and then I went and I did, it's hard to see because it's like the same color, but I did a stitch along the flap, so that should be right around on the fold. I don't know, I just like the way it looked. So this one is our first journal cover, and it does all still need to dry, which is why I'm going to pretty much stop here for the day. This is our second journal cover. This one's going to be a lot bigger. It's going to be fun to work in. So we have the envelope one, and again, when I bind it, it will be open in the back as an envelope, so that'll be fun. So there's the second one, and then the third one, I do have to just trim right along the edge of my wallpaper. Get all the pieces to be a lot closer in size. And here. And that's where I will stop for the day. And next week, when I come back, all of these journal covers should be dry and ready to go. So I have that. And then here's this journal, and what I will do with this one is I will just fold this in half, and this will be wallpaper on the outside, fabric on the inside. I make a lot of journal covers in this style for my art shows. I really like it. It's a lot of fun, and it's definitely like a quick. And you also don't have to use a sewing machine, but if you didn't use a sewing machine, because I put batting in there, if you wanted to do something like this style without a sewing machine, instead of putting felt and fabric, I would recommend just backing the wallpaper with a piece of cardstock. That would be my advice. So I have this cover and I have this cover. They need to dry. I'm gonna leave them to dry. All three of them have to dry. Okay, last week, this is the final piece of my video. Last week, I showed you a freebie to go with this challenge. That was this freebie. This week, I have another freebie, and I haven't actually made it yet, but it's going to be a scan of this. It's from the same book as this one, or the same kind of book. And it's just these cute little animals, and you can cut them out, you can use them. They are like embroidery design templates, I guess is the word, but it has, you know, a cute border. It has these cute animals, so I thought that would be a good freebie. So if you go to my coffee shop, you can find that there for free. This one from last week, and in addition to that, you can find the... Trying not to drop my whole kit everywhere. You can find the info for the collab, and in the description below this video you will find the playlist linked for this video, as well as the other creators who are participating in the challenge. Please follow us all on YouTube, follow us on Instagram if you're on Instagram, and wherever else those creators are, find them in their descriptions, in their channels, and follow them where they post. And I hope you are all having fun. I know this is actually the first video in the series where we're creating, so come back for the rest of the week to the other creators to see what they're doing with their kits and how they're starting their journals. And I can't wait to see what everybody does. And if you create something, if you are following along and making videos or posting about it, please tag me on YouTube or Instagram, because I would love to follow along and see what you're doing with your kit. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.